Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner, and this is my review for The Have and the Have Nots, Season 4, Episode 19. Yeah, the season's going along, pretty well. I don't know if I like it all the way yet, but let's see how this review goes. But as you all know, I love new subscribers, so if you have not done so already, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. It does not cost you anything. It just lets you know when I have new content available. You can also like my video, share my video, and as you know, there's a comment section all the way down to the bottom. Just scroll, and you can put in the comments that you see fit, as long as those comments are respectful, meaning do not be disrespectful to myself or anyone else who is commenting. And now that is out of the way, this episode started off right where the last one left off, with Candace and Charles in her room, and Charles giving her the ultimatum of, you can be with me and have a whole new life. You can have a whole new reset. However, to get you from out of you killed your, the dead body at your house, we need someone to take the fall for it. It would have to be your brother. And Candace is not happy. She's very, very, very pissed off. She's like, I would never sell out my brother. Why would you think I would do that? And he is surprised, like, oh, I didn't know you and your brother were that close. And she's like, I love him. That's my brother. What are you talking about? And she was like, he's confused. Like, oh, I didn't know you loved him like that. I don't know love like that. And she's like, well, how that you have 2 kids. He's like, yeah, but that's different. And she's like, but you were married. You loved your wife. And he was like, yeah. And it was a whole thing, I guess, of him having to realize she's not as much of a cold-hearted bitch as he thought she was. He tells her, well, the reason he was going to do that is because the only way that he can, have her at his inauguration is if he sells the story that she didn't commit the murder, her brother did. And she's like, I didn't want to go to your inauguration anyway. And, I would never sell out my brother. And he's like, well, if that's the case, why did you forge his name on the bank documents? And she's like, how do you know everything about me? That doesn't matter. I'm not going to do that. And, she's like, you know what? I need some air. And he's like, well, okay. And she's like, no, I need you to leave. And he's like, okay. And she's like, get out. Because, of course, she's pissed off. When he leaves, he goes into his room and closes the door. And, he looks frustrated, as if I think he thought she would take the deal. And he's frustrated that he didn't read her correctly to see that she would not do that. So we have that whole scene. The next scene we see, I don't care much about it either. Wyatt and the doctor, I don't know if she's a doctor or a nurse, but she's the girl who's helping him get clean. And they're basically just still sitting around watching movies. I mean, I don't care about these scenes much. I'm happy he's, it's showing him be sober, be a little bit different, not be as much of an asshole. She's had someone come drop clothes off her because she's going to be staying there with him to help him get better, and to just watch him, because we know when a person is, getting off of drugs, you have to watch them for the first couple of weeks just to be sure they don't do anything crazy or that they don't get high. So yeah, she also is having him fill out a questionnaire to get his mind off of wanting to get high. And, one of the questions was, what would you want to do with your life? And he's like, well, I always wanted to be a firefighter. He goes into that. He also says how he never felt like his parents wanted him or his sister around, solely because they were always being shipped off to boarding school, to summer camp, to band camp, to camp, just to anywhere else but there with the family. And she's basically just listening to him talk. At one point there's a camera sitting around, and she's like, well, hey, an idea that we can go do just to basically get his mind off taking drugs is we can take the camera and we can go around the whole city and take photos of all the firehouses, the fire stations, and then we can come and, back here, frame them and hang them up around the house. He thinks that's cool, it's great, yeah. They then have someone call Simpson DA's office, and he's like, where's Jennifer? Where's Jennifer Salazar? And he's like, well, that's why I'm calling. She's no longer with us. And he's like, what? She quit? And he's like, no, she's dead. I mean, instead it's just so nonchalantly, like, what do you mean? No, nigga, she dead, she gone. And I was just like, they just said it so harshly. And he's like, what? And they're like, yeah, that's basically why we were calling you. We wanted to come talk to you. Now, he's like, but I didn't, why? Oh, we just have some questions. And he's like, well, okay, y'all can come to my house, can come right now. And he hangs up the phone. He tells the girl, the DA is dead. They want to come talk to me. And she's smart because she says, well, shouldn't we call someone? And she's like, well, call who? She's like, a lawyer. Ding, 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 ding. You always have a lawyer present whenever the police wants to talk to you because you never know what they're trying to do. And he's like, well, no, I don't know anyone. So, I'll just be here and I'll talk to him. And she's like, it's okay. I'll be here too. I'm your fucking shadow. Well, she didn't say fucking, but she did say shadow. And yeah, that's the whole scene. That was it. Next, we see Veronica gets Hannah in to see Benny. But in typical Veronica Petty fashion, she tells the police that Hannah is his grandmother. Veronica's an asshole. And I hate that because my sister's name is Veronica and she's not an asshole. This Veronica, she's an asshole. So, my fault. I'm sorry. I get that confused. She's his mother. Oh, whatever, bitch. So, Veronica and Hannah basically go in the back to talk to Benny. At that point in time, Catherine and Mitch is up front talking. And, she's asking him, like, how long have you known Benny? Oh, I've known him for a while. And then she's like, oh, so you also know Catherine? And he's like, no, I would see her at different games and things like that, but I don't know her that well. And she's like, well, does she know who you are? Meaning, does she know that you're a Malone, but your grandmother's a mob? And he's like, no, I'm just Mitch. And she's like, well, yeah, I've tried to be just Catherine too, but, at the end of the day, and she said whatever her maiden name is. I can't remember what name she said. I didn't write it down. And he's like, nope, I'm just Mitch. I'm just Mitch. She then asked him, so Mitch, are you dating anybody? And he's like, no, why? And she's like, I'll be single soon and I'll need someone like you around. I can use a man like you. He's like, oh yeah, how much you paying? And she's like, oh, I don't pay. And he's like, oh really? And she's like, yeah, but after I'm done, you'll be the one paying for it. I'm like, why is Catherine, middle-aged self flirting with this young old man? I guess, if Benny can fuck Veronica, I guess Mitch can fuck Catherine. I don't know, but it still would just be weird. And he's like, are you joking? And she's like, no. He's like, I gotta go. And he gets up, he walks away. I was laughing. And he was like, she then said, you don't know what you're missing. Catherine, cut it out. We then go into Hannah in the room talking with Benny. She's basically asking what's going on. This is, how Tyler Perry does repetitive conversations. What's going on, Benny? I don't know. What's going on, Benny? I don't know. What you in here for? It was that whole thing. He also says, I can't talk much because they're recording everything. Veronica says, well, you can talk. They can't use anything that you say while I'm in here against you in court because I'm your lawyer. So, you're free to talk. So Hannah says, did you kill Quincy? And he's like, I told you mine didn't do it. I told you that. Well, who did? And he looks over at Veronica and he's like, I told you who did it. Remember that Benny told Hannah that Jeffrey killed Quincy. And so she's like, well, are you sure you didn't do it? And he like, yeah. And she asked him about 4 more times. And she said, look me in my face and tell me you didn't do it. And what does he do? Mom, I didn't kill Quincy. Okay, fine, whatever. He gets up to saying how, the Secret Service was in there and they took his DNA. And then Veronica was like, what? They did what? You let them? And he was like, well, they took it. They came here with guns and stuff and they took it. So Veronica gets up to say she's going to go talk to supervisors to figure out why they did that because it's basically illegal. When they go out, she says before she walks out, watch what you say. Because again, she's not in there anymore. Hannah's mad. And she's like, this is all Candace's fault. Candace hasn't called to see what happened to the baby. That's crazy. And Benny's like, Mom, she might not know. Benny, she knows it's been all over the TV. She's like, she probably hasn't watched TV. Technically, none of y'all watch TV. I ain't seen none of y'all watch the goddamn TV since this show I don't think I've even seen the fucking TV on it. Yeah, y'all don't even watch TV, Anna. What you acting like that for? Hannah then does say, "Are you sure that Jeffrey Harrington is the one that killed Quincy?" And he's like, "Yeah, I told you that's who did it." Now, Veronica just told y'all to shut the fuck up and watch what you say. Why would you say that in there? But whatever. Hannah said how she does not trust Hannah. Hannah said how she does not trust Veronica. That she doesn't want him to be the lawyer. And Benny's like, "Ma, we have no choice. She's all that we have. So we have to work with her." And Hannah's still saying how it's all Candace's fault. Candace. I tried to keep y'all away. I wish I could have kept y'all away from her. I wish I could have done something different. And she's basically just reeling over the fact that Benny's in jail, Lil Quincy's dead, and it's all Candace's fault, and Candace is nowhere to be found. So we have that whole scene. End of the scene. Veronica's then out having a conversation on the phone, calling to figure out who these Secret Service are, people who are questioning Benny. She then comes back into she just said like their names. I don't know who they are, but they're doing stuff, and I'm trying to figure out who they are. So nothing came of that phone conversation, but she then goes back into the police station, and she sits down, and we see Justin walk up. So Justin kind of yanks her up off the chair, and it's like, "Delete the video, give me the phone." And she's like, "You take the phone from me." And he's like, "You think I won't, just delete the video?" And she's like, "Well, look at you." Then he tries to get nice. "Please delete the video. Please, please, please." The whole repetitive conversation. Wants Veronica not to mess with him. "Please give me the video." And she's like, "I asked you to stay away from my son. I asked you to leave him alone. But no, you sneaking away in stairwells, kissing on him, talking about being on top, all this stuff that he was saying. So you didn't listen to me." He's like, "No, I didn't." And she's like, "I'm not giving you the video. I'm going to basically show your wife. I'm going to play this video in court." And he like, "If you do that, you won't like the outcome." And she's like, whatever. Veronica like, "Oh, whatever. I really believe Justin is batshit crazy. I think if Veronica does show this video, I wonder if Justin gonna kill Veronica. That would be good. Okay. Yeah, Veronica, play that tape so we can see Justin kill you a little bit. Or at least yeah. Because we already know that Justin is crazy. And that he will do anything to make sure he can still be with Jeffrey. In secret, though. If you tell his wife, or if it gets out that he's gay, he can't be with Jeffrey. And he can't have that. So, Veronica, Justin gonna kill you, boo-boo." So that was the whole scene of her saying, "I'm not giving it to you." Him saying, "You won't like the outcome." She sits down, and he walks away with a crazy look on his face. That was really it. What else happened? I'm trying to look at my notes. Candace goes to talk to Erica. Now, this was a juicy scene. She goes to talk to Erica, and she's talking to Erica about her and Charles without saying who Charles is, without saying his name. She's just like, "I met this guy, and it's very frustrating because I thought I had him. I thought he was having sex, and his ass was rolling in the back of his head. I thought I had him. I was going to blackmail him and all this good stuff. And come to find out, when he has a few drinks, he's so nice, and I thought I had him. But when he sobers up, he's like a beast. He knows everything. He's always 10 steps ahead of me, and I don't think I like it." And Erica keeps asking, "Well, who is he? Who is he? Who is he?" And, Candace keeps saying, "I'm not going to tell you. Just know he's powerful." But she's not telling Erica who this person is. She then says, "He wants to get me off the hook for the whole Quincy murder. He wants to send Benny to jail for it. He wants Benny to take the rap for me." And Erica says, "Well, that's not a bad idea." And Candace slaps the dog shit out of Erica. I mean, open palm, pimp hand slap across her goddamn face. And she's like, "Don't forget your place. When I was You were my bottom bitch when I was running things, but you didn't bring in a lot of money. I'm like, well, Candace used to be a pimp, and Erica was her bottom bitch, and she's like, don't forget your place. I'm like, okay. And Erica like, I'm so sorry, and Candace like, oh, my fault, I'm under so much stress. And I'm just like, that's why Erica hates Candace, because Candace probably used to beat her ass or beat her up or treated her like a bottom bitch when she was pimping her out. So that's why she hates Candace. It all kind of makes sense. So Candace at this point is saying, I need to borrow some more clothes, and, I'm about to go somewhere. And Erica's like, well, where are you going? And Candace then says, I'm not telling you, and you want to know why? And Erica's like, why? Because it's none of my business. And she was like, no. When I brought this dress from you, it had this smell on it. I couldn't, for the life of me, figure it out. But then I remembered what it was. It was that cheap ass cologne that War wears, and she realized that War must have been around her, and that's why his cologne was in the clothes. Remember when War went to visit Erica, he hid in her closet. The closet where the dress was at. So that's how Candace could smell it. And when you know someone's cologne and it's a distinctive thing, you know where it came from. And she's like, no, I don't talk to him. I would never talk to him. And she's like, whatever, I need to borrow some clothes. And then she's walking to the closet. She's like, Candace, you're so stressed. You're so just, you want me to relieve that for you? And Erica, Candace ignores her, walks to the closet, takes an outfit, and then she leaves. Erica goes into the bathroom and she's pissed off. She calls War. Oh my God, War! Oh my God, I need you to come get this bitch. And he's like, what are you talking about? Candace, she just slaps me. And he's like, well, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get her where she at. She's here, come get her. He's like, well, I can't come right now, things too hot. And she's like, well, send someone else to come here and get her. And he's like, well, I can't. They need to be here with me. We finna handle something. And she's like, oh, you can't come. And she's just flipping out because she's pissed the fuck off. And he's like, look, bitch, I gotta go. We got things going on. I'm gonna call you back later. He basically, I'll call you back. He hangs up. The guys he's with at where he is at his little hideout, they're like, hey, we found him. He's at his grandmother's restaurant. I'm assuming they're talking about Mitch, because Mitch is the only person they can be looking for who's at a grandmother's restaurant. And he's like, okay, go talk to him. And they like, what? Nigga, that's the mob. He's like, I don't care. Go talk to him. And then, yeah, they leave. The next thing we see is, Hannah is done talking to Benny. She wants to wait for Benny to get out of jail because she wants to know what's going on. Catherine's like, look, we can't wait. We have things to do. And Hannah's like, oh, I almost forgot. They have to plan the funeral for little Q. And Catherine's like, look, we'll go home and we'll get it figured out. He's here right now. It's okay. So they all kind of leave out. So Mitch leaves out. Hannah leaves out. As they're leaving out, and Veronica and Catherine was going to leave out too, the new DA guy, who we saw before, he was the one who went and questioned Jim and them at the house right after Jennifer was killed. It's the, the Asian guy. So he walks up. He's like, hey, I was about to come to your house, Catherine. She's like, why? What's up? He's like, oh, we found Jennifer Salas. And she's like, what? That's crazy. What happened? It's like, well, that's what I was coming to talk to you about. She's like, why would you do that? He's like, oh, because the last place her phone pinged, or the last location of her car, you were the last one to see her alive, according to, her phone records or whatever. And she's like, I don't know why you would think that, that's crazy. So then Veronica walks up like, you know better than that. You can't question my client. You can't do that. That's not how this goes. And he's like, I can get a warrant. And she's like, well, go do that. Go get a warrant. I can't, Veronica. Go get a warrant. And she's like, and even when you have that warrant, I still won't let you talk to my client. So they kind of walk away, and she says to Catherine, meet me at your house in 15 minutes. And she's like, Catherine then says back, I don't trust you. She was like, meet me there in 15 minutes. And then they both walk out. So we have that whole thing. The next thing we see is Jeffrey going to visit Melissa. We forgot that Melissa asked almost tried to kill herself in the goddamn hospital. So he's visiting Melissa. He's trying to apologize to her. This is how he's sorry about the situation they're in. How things are going to get better. How she can't want to kill herself. And again, she's just not listening to Jeffrey. She's like, whatever, I don't care. Me living won't bring my father back, so I'm over everything. As they're sitting there talking, a lady comes in. She's like, Melissa, something, 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 and says her whole name. And it turns out it's her mother. And Jeffrey's like, oh, hi, because of course Jeffrey's never met her mother before. And she's like, oh, so he's like, I'll give y'all some time to talk. And she's like, no, I was going to check on to see how she was doing. I'm not staying. This isn't the first time she's done this. She did it before. And he's like, wait, before? So the mom was like, yeah, she tried to kill herself before, but she was younger. She's done it like 3 times. And the mom basically says she needs to grow up and deal with life. She can't keep trying to kill herself. That's not how life goes. She then says to Jeffrey, I know you. And he's like, well, yeah, I'm Jeffrey. And she's like, yeah, you like hand jobs, don't you? And he's like, what? And she's like, well, you gay, aren't you? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, so you like hand jobs. And he was like, well, whether a person's gay or straight, anyone likes hand jobs. I said, really, Jeffrey? Jeffrey's so nasty. But I think, well, the mama's then telling Melissa, you can't kill yourself right now. You can't kill yourself because I can't afford to bury you and your father. You need to just cut it out. You need to just stop it. We then see that the mom tells Jeffrey, let your mother know that Melissa will do better. She won't do this again. She'll be better. She'll be okay. So we then figure out the mom was aware that Veronica was basically pimping her out to her gay ass son to have a baby. And so Jeffrey then understands what Melissa's been going through. Her mom is just as bad as Veronica. So they're both stuck with crazy ass, sadistic, crazy mamas. And she's like, hey, now you see what I'm saying? Nothing will be better. Nothing will be fixed. Just go. And he, of course, leaves her there to wallow in her self of being sad. The next scene we see, one of the last scenes, Charles and Landon go to visit Candace. So they on her door, and she's like, what do you want? And Charles is like, I need to talk to you. She's like, about what? I'm not selling my brother out. I'm not gonna do it. And he's like, it's not about your brother, it's about your son. And she's like, if you touch my son, I will kill you. And he's like, of course I won't do anything to your son. No. And she's like, well, what? Where is he? What is it? And he's like, I had to speak at a rally today on gun violence. And she was like, he said, your son was a victim of gun violence. And she was like, what? What did you do? What did you do? He's like, nothing. I had nothing to do with this. Your son was caught in the crossfire and he was shot. And her reaction, oh, that goddamn gonna take a Sumter. When she needs to switch to something different, she instantly went to mother mode. Just her reaction was that of a true mother. Complete shock, eyes filled up with tears. And she was like, choking back tears, saying, well, is he okay? Is he okay? And they're like, no, he didn't make it. And she's like, in the same way that Hannah had that shocked, can't catch my breath, I can't believe what I'm hearing, seeing, what I'm living. Candace had that same moment, but she was a little bit more reserved, but still shattered to pieces. She was shattered to pieces quietly. She was shattered to pieces physically. You could see her, I was surprised that she didn't fall to the floor, but I felt like if she would have fell to the floor, Charles would have had to grab her, and that would not have been right for the scene. So, she breaks down and she tells them to get out, to get the fuck out. And she's shaken, she's broken, she's confused, she's angry, she's sad, and she's crying. And she keeps saying, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Because in hindsight, she did that. Because they did to her where he was shot at the motel. Which lets her know War was looking for me. War probably knew I was there. War went there to trying to kill me. I wasn't there, and my son got killed because of it. What did I do? And I know that's what's in her head playing. I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? She knew it when they told her that he was shot at that motel that she was supposed to be at. She knew she was the one who was supposed to have been shot, but it was her son. So, that's how that scene goes out with her screaming, not even screaming, but her just repeating, what did I do? What did I do? The last scene of the night is Veronica and Catherine are at the house, the Crier house, not the new house she's at now. And you see Veronica like throwing, stuff on the ground. And I'm like, what the fuck is she doing? And I look, and she got a goddamn gas can, so she's throwing gasoline all around the house. And Catherine's like, what are you doing? And she gives Catherine the matches. And she's like, I'm burning the house down. We gotta burn this bitch down. And Catherine's like, what? I'm not burning my house down. I'm not doing that. And she's like, is Jim home? And Veronica's still throwing gasoline everywhere. And she's like, Veronica, we're not burning my house down. And she's like, look, they have her body. It's going to be evidence all in the house. The only way to prevent evidence is to burn the house down. If you have no evidence, there's no, they can't arrest anyone for murder. I'm not going down for this shit. And Catherine realizes that what she's saying makes sense. So what does Catherine do? She lights the match. And Veronica's saying, are you sure Jim isn't in there? And she throws the match and she was like, I don't care if he is. And they watch the fire rise as they set the goddamn house on fire. Now, for me, this is the second house fire that Veronica has set. I think there could have been something else done. For me, it was a little repetitive. Of course, we'll see what happens the next episode. The next episode really does look good. It shows Candace having a conversation with Hannah. It shows Candace saying how War has to die. It looks like a good episode. It even shows Landon and Charles having a conversation with Landon saying Candace is a typical street person. You're above that. And Charles saying, what if I'm a street person? He's walking up to Landon. Charles ain't as squeaky clean as we think he is, people. Charles is Chucky, and he's a sexy little thing like that. But anywho, that was my whole review for The Have and the Have-Nots, Season 4, Episode 19. So, until next time, people, I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner, and peace.